Hello and welcome to From the Be All End, and yes, a different mood for this Monday debrief, because we haven't had this feeling for a while, a home victory in the Premier League. I don't even want to think back to when the last time we had a home win in the Premier League was, but it wasn't this season, and it was this Saturday though, with that 5-0 win over Sheffield United. Full team here to dissect it. Before we do though, for you lads who were on the turf, Greavesy, what was it like to witness a Burnley victory in the Premier League?
It felt a bit weird, really. I was slightly pissed off we didn't get 6. You know, you're literally coming off going, we've hit the post, we've had that chance. Fotheringham's made a mess of that. And you're coming off thinking that literally, I mean, Jamie Oyland said to us on Thursday night's podcast, Sheffield United could have got beat 8-1 the week before by Bournemouth. And I don't think they'd have had any complaints if it were another goal or two on top of that. I mean, it just felt incredible. I mean, to get that start that we had, we'll come into all the, the various goals, and it might take us a while, but what a cross from Charlie Taylor, first time. And then the header from Jay, I was confident going on, but as soon as that goes in, you just go, but we're in. But yeah, atmosphere, fantastic. And it's everything we said. Football gets better, the atmosphere will get better. I thought the atmosphere was decent against West Ham. When you're sticking 5 past one of your relegation rivals, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Chris, how did you see that first goal?
Well, I'd literally just come back. My lad's a newcomer to go into the football, and 5 minutes before kickoff decides he wants to go to the toilet. So I'm panicking a bit. But we got in our seats, turned round to see James Trafford playing it forward into J-Rod. And just soon as Charlie Taylor's capable of this. We know we should have many more assists than he gets. Gorgeous ball in, and just classic J-Rod. You look back at those sort of headed winners against Watford in the COVID game. West Ham in another COVID game. You put the ball in there, and his movement, is fabulous. The way he glances the header in. I know it takes a bit of a nick, but he's and the way he celebrated J-Rod, he's punched the badge on his chest. The passion, the goal gets everyone going, but the way Jay celebrated took it up a notch again, and it just really set the tone for a dominant afternoon. That again, like Greavesy said, just a slight tinge of disappointment that it wasn't 6-7, and it could well have been. Say they hit the woodwork twice. Vitinho's gone close. I think Obafemi curls one just wide as well, doesn't he? It's just a tonic to come away on a Saturday with an uplifting feeling, and first on match of the day, and just we've not felt like this for a long time.
Justin, we've become like a little bit weary and cynical perhaps during this run of form. Like when a goal goes in, you sort of think, how long is this lead going to last? But it didn't really feel like that, did it, at any stage on Saturday?
No, I didn't think so. I thought it was a superb display, a perfect continuation of the progress that we've been seeing over the last few weeks, I think. I mean, if you really want to lay down a marker and say, the progress that we're showing is real, you can't do more than record your biggest ever Premier League win, can you? That just shows how far they've come, and I know the opposition perhaps contributed a little bit to their own downfall, but as they always say, you can only play what's in front of you, and it was just, I never felt that they were in any danger whatsoever. I just thought, like everyone else says, it was just a question of how many we were going to score, and it's handy. It gets the goal difference back to something a little bit more respectable, doesn't it, than it was? So it's all positive, isn't it?
Woody, on NBC's roundup, that they sounded a little bit too surprised for my liking when they were saying, and Burnley winning 5-0. How did you see it all on Saturday?
I mean, they probably would have done that if it had been 1-0. I mean, we've gone from last week, we were the worst side in English football since Newport County, to all of a sudden, we've basically slammed 5 past Sheffield United, our best Premier League win, our best top division win, or equaling our top division win going back to 1970. So it's a weird compare and contrast, isn't it? But it was all those little things that went well yesterday. You know, the first goal. I'm doing it in other games. Both of those little bobbles when he beat both his men would have gone into bobblehead stand. That ball comes across, great ball from Charlie Taylor, like everybody said. But that nick that got a deflection would have gone wide apart from that. You know, it could have been all a little bit slightly different. And every little thing kind of went right, and we just blew them apart, and rightly so. They were fucking shocking.
Fourth game in a row with roughly the same team line. There was that one change, wasn't there, that obviously worked pretty well with Goodmanson coming out for Brun Larsen, who was excellent. But that continuity, Greavesy, of having the same side week after week, at least the same partnerships, as you've talked about, the need to have partnerships and stuff, that seems to have been a key factor in this mini upturn in form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think, you know, he had a tendency early doors to make too many changes from one game to the next. And that, I think we talked about, didn't give any consistency, anything like that. You know, I looked at who wasn't even on the bench. No Cullen, no Roberts, no Alderkeel, no Zarore, no Benson. You know, the list goes on. There could have been that temptation to kind of, you know, bring Cullen back into the fold, you know, or at least on the bench, and then throw him on in second half. But actually his changes this week just felt more natural. You know, the natural first change was Goodmanson on for Brun Larsen. They're almost a carbon copy. You know, I'd say Brun Larsen, you know, obviously younger, has got that little bit of extra quality, I think, and we saw that with the way he took his goal, which was superb. But that consistency is exactly what we're looking for. But we've mentioned it before. I think that's Amdouni's best game. I think that's O'Shea's best game.
Yep.
I think that is Vitinho's best game, and he's had a couple of good games recently, especially against Arsenal, against Martinelli. But I think this is what we've been talking about in terms of Kompany's plan is to develop each one of those players beyond what their kind of talent is now. And when all 11 players get to that level, I think it was Trafford's best game, if I'm being really honest. And it's not just the clean sheet, it's the confidence of his distribution, which still needs a bit of work on. But listen, Tom Eaton needed work on his distribution. Nick Pope needed work on his distribution, you know. But I think we're starting to see, as Justin said, the culmination of... Still does, yeah. Yeah, of course he does, yeah, Pope, yeah. But James Trafford, you know, we're not faffing about with it at the back as much. But when we are, we're doing it with confidence, not taking risks. The kind of players are going slightly wider. You know, everything. And maybe we've hit that kind of 100 training sessions, 100 team meetings point. I don't know. But it is that marginal gains in every single area of the pitch. Vitinho still so much he can improve on. His final product at times is pretty poor. But defensively, I think he was a bit more aggressive. We talked with Jamie on Thursday about us being far too passive. We were aggressive. O'Shea won header after header after header, 40 yards from goal. His positioning was so much better. And I've been really critical of O'Shea, even more so to friends than I am publicly on the podcast. But I thought O'Shea did exactly what we needed him to do. You know, and he was strolling out with the ball second half when they were it was like walking football at times because they were backing off. But there were several players that you go, that's their best game. And I know the opposition is the opposition, and McBurney kind of, you know, gave us all helping out. But we were dominant before that Arso got himself sent off anyway. You know, it was literally from as soon as their players stopped tracking Brun Larsen and Brun Larsen got away and scored that second, you just went, this lot of shot. You know, they might be in danger of breaking Derby's record. You know, I know we talked about it. I think we're going to be safe on that, but they are a pub team. They are shockingly bad. But you can only beat what's in front of you.
That is a big asterisk, though. Next to, like, you've listed, you know, 4 or 5 players who have had the best game for us, and I wouldn't dispute any of that. But it is their best game for us against the worst team that we've played and are going to play. I mean, it's a big asterisk to put next to that, isn't it? I mean, Chris, how bad were Sheffield United?
Well, I see you're going into the game thinking they're really hard done to lose against Spurs. You know, they've got done twice in the closing minutes. You know, they've beaten Wolves. You know, which I say, I'd going into the season, I thought Wolves might struggle. They've done better than anticipated. They've gone and beaten Wolves, which is a sizable, sizable upset, really. But you look through the side. There was a lot of chat about they signed Hamer that Burnley had a sniff at. A lot of people felt it was better than Berger. They've got Archer, who's we've seen in the Championship is more than a handful. Cameron Archer, Fotheringham. They got good footballers, but they were. McBurney's the most cretinous footballer I've ever seen on a football pitch. I'm not joking. Look, go and Google the guy. He's an absolute buffoon. He should walk for the elbow on O'Shea. He's a nod for O'Shea out the referee, and then everyone in the ground can see what he's going to do when he goes in again with O'Shea. And the insult is, I know he's been sent off once before this season, so it's a 2-game ban. But he would only receive a 1-game ban in normal circumstances for that. And when you think, that Zarori gets a 3-game ban for this time tackle on Kyle Walker. Lyle Foster gets 3 for a little bit of a dig in someone's ribs, having had a goal disallowed and been fouled, and feeling he's not getting much joy from the officials. And somehow VAR
a fair little dig, to be fair.
VAR have picked that up. Now VAR have looked at McBurney, who he's not just sort of accidentally collided with O'Shea and his arms are up. He's gone up and he pulls his arm back and he brings his arm into O'Shea, and it's as blatant a red card as you're going to see. And then the idiot does it again. And to be honest, I thought that they were better with 10 than they were with McBurney on the park, to be honest. But it's for Heckingbottom afterwards says that we came here to be aggressive, and they walk away with 8 bookings, and you just think, what they've tried to kick Burnley off the park basically, when the tactic at Bramall Lane last year of being high tempo, hanging the ball under Burnley's crossbar, being competitive and work to treat for them, but they just come at it with the complete wrong attitude, and their attitude stunk, and they got what they deserved.
See, that's why I asked you that question, Chris. I knew you'd give us your real opinion. I knew that. Woody, how much perspective do we need to give to this? I mean, we can just be happy with a 5-0 win, obviously, but is there a danger of us getting carried away, do you think?
Of course there is, but you deserve it every now and again, don't you? But give it the same level of perspective as Vinny and the lads will be doing. They'll be happy about it, and then they'll treat it as a grounding point, a benchmark, etc. But not get overly excited about 5-0 against that shower of shit versus some of the other results that have gone against as well. We've gone out, we've done a job extremely professionally, extremely well. We've built on what we've been doing over the past few games, and it's paid dividends. Now they move on and they get a result against Wolves, etc., and that's how they should be looking at it. And that's basically it. Enjoy it for a couple of days and then move on.
Justin, what worked? Yeah. What worked the best, really? Because obviously some things clicked, regardless of the opposition. Some things clicked there. What would you stood out for you as the things that worked?
I think there's 2 things going on there in that particular game. I think Sander Berger again had an absolutely fantastic game. He completely ran the show from the middle of the park. Did really well. His range of passing is brilliant, and he protects the ball really well. He keeps it, and then he's always looking to move it forward when he can. So that sort of that's what we mean, isn't it, when we're talking about football? Football's being aggressive. It's like getting the ball forward. It's not kicking the shit out of the opposition. It's being on the front foot all the time, and he kept doing that. And I think the other thing that was quite surprising was that we were much more of a threat down the right hand side for a change. Normally it's Koleosho who's causing all the problems, but Brun Larsen, in tandem with Vitinho. I agree with Greavesy. I thought Vitinho had a fantastic game, and he has started, playing really well in that right back role. But he was aggressively getting forward onto his, round the back of Brun Larsen and getting further forward. So I think those two things combined, that's where, the magic was happening for me. That down that right hand side, a really good combination that we found. Brun Larsen and Vitinho, really good going forward, really aggressive. I thought that Brun Larsen's first touch for his goal was just absolutely world class. He couldn't have, if he'd sort of planned it and been able to actually, make it happen, he couldn't have planned it any better than that. He couldn't have put it in a better spot to put it home, and I thought that was really impressive. But I mean, it's not. You say there's a big asterisk against the game because it was against poor opposition, but it's not happened in isolation, is it? It's part of a process, and
absolutely,
it's the last 4 games or so we played really well and not got the rewards for it. And I think we said last week, didn't we, that if the progress is real, we should beat Sheffield United, and we have done that. So now we've just got to get some momentum now, haven't we? I think going into next week, it's going to be an important next couple of games.
It is. I mean, one of the things that struck me as really, really good sign that some things were working was we've had a few discussions about Amdouni saying we don't know where his position is really, where he's best used. And it now looks pretty obvious where his best position is, exactly where he was operating in yesterday, buzzing around a number 9, but behind him, going in front of him sometimes. He's a player who plays on instinct a lot, I think, and he needs to be in a position where he can exploit those good instincts, which he does seem to have. But his first touch and control sometimes is also out of this world, isn't it? I mean, that's really shone. Who else, Greavesy, has caught your eye as being not just the players who played well, but the little things that seem to be clicking?
I think it was them relationships, you know what I mean? Taylor and Koleosho just felt like they weren't perhaps sat on top of each other quite as much as they were. I think in a couple of games, it's been a bit like when Charlie Taylor's got the ball, right, you need to get in front of me a bit more. You're almost sat on my toes. Just get, so I can get that ball through, you know what I mean? But I think James Trafford, we've been very critical of James Trafford and questioned whether he needed to come out the side, and perhaps the Sheffield United game came at the right time because we know that long throw was going to be a bit of a tester, and they used it a couple of times to absolute no effect because we were able to nullify that. So I think defensively we protected Trafford a lot more. I saw, again, Amdouni, I think, up against their big lads, but he was kind of getting between Trafford and their player, so them little bits kind of work well. But then relationships, there were a couple of lovely little interplays between Vitinho and Brun Larsen, little kind of almost no-look passes to get beyond. And Brun Larsen's little spins on the halfway line, forget the ball over the top and the goal, and like Justin said, world-class first touch. It's them little bits, and you just wonder whether, everything we've started working on started clear. I thought Trezor, when he came on, looked decent, looked lively. Obafemi, you just willed him to get a goal because you're kind of thinking, after that spell he's had out injured, but he looked good. You know what I mean? He was there. He was chasing balls down and all that lot. And then we had Ekdal coming back on as well, and he'll be needed, of course, Tuesday probably because Bayer is suspended for 5 bookings because of something that looked to really have miffed Vincent Kompany, just blasting the ball into the Bob Lord stand after we'd won ourselves a free kick at 2-0 up. Bayer got booked, and you could tell, Bayer wears his heart on his sleeves. He was punching his head a couple of times because he realised he was going to miss the Wolves game. Now, I do wonder whether it was a bit of we don't want to lose him for Everton. We perhaps don't want to lose him for that run of Christmas fixtures. So, do you take a booking? But it just seemed a needless, stupid booking and probably the only blot on anyone's copybook, really. And that's me being really harsh, of course.
Yeah, no, I wondered about Jack Grealish in that City Spurs game there, where commentators are going, "Oh, he's going to miss the game against Villa now," and I was like, "You just kicked the ball away and got a yellow card, so you don't have to play your old team or your boyhood team and everything." But yeah, Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, I thought Egdal looked great when he came on, admittedly in a situation where he didn't really have much defending to do and a lot of time to look nice on the ball, but he did look nice on the ball, as he does. Tough one coming up on Tuesday, isn't it? We haven't got another pod before then, so we should look ahead a little bit towards that. But it's one where you just think, keep the momentum now somehow. Like, get a result there, get a draw, get something out of that game, and don't step backwards now, because it does feel like there is some momentum building. Chris, how do you see that going?
Yeah, they're a funny side, aren't they, Wolves? You know, one of them teams that coupon busting results every other week, and it's, I don't know. I suppose it reminds me of a game down there a couple of years ago when, you know, again after a really, really poor start under Sean Dyche, and you know, you went there and ground out a 0 apiece, and you wonder, you know, it'd be a step in the right direction. I think we're not barely capable of going there and winning the game, but it's one of those, you just want to keep the sort of momentum building, as we say, and you know, make sure they don't lose that, and then probably similar state of affairs at Brighton at the weekend. But yeah, I watched Wolves against Fulham last Monday, and you know, they were, well, I think everyone can see the VAR gods conspiring against them. You know, the 2 penalties that weren't, and a sending off that wasn't given, and you know, they win that game otherwise. And I say they're quite, you know, they've moved away from Nuno's side, and you know, they're technical. I think they're quite, so they are quite physical as well in the same breath, and it will be, you know, a decent test. But I think Burnley are capable of going there and taking the game to them and getting something.
Woody, what do you make of this one at Wolves? Winnable?
Agreed. I don't know whether it's winnable. I don't think, you know, we're quite at that stage where we can start thinking that we're going to start blowing people away. But there's definitely this momentum to, you know, build upon, and it's not just about a decent performance. We need a result. So, you know, I can see us getting a draw. You know, they've drawn quite a lot at their place. So, yeah. Why the devil not? Why the devil not?
There's a couple of things, isn't there? One is, I mean, we did say in the past when before we went on this little run of decent form, that the players' heads seemed to have dropped a little bit, and they were getting a bit discouraged. There was none of that on Saturday. It was all positive, wasn't it? They look really like they knew they were the better side, and they were extremely keen to show it. And that's something that you know, you can't buy that sort of level of confidence. That comes through putting the graft in and getting these good performances going. But on top of that, we now seem to have arrived at a team and a way of playing which is not the same as, I don't care what they say. You know, Company can say all he wants that we're not going to change, but they have changed, haven't they? Yeah, they've definitely changed the style of play. You know, they went long a few times on Saturday. You know, they mix it up a lot more than they used to. They don't do that ridiculous high pressing and then get caught on the break all the time. So we've found a way of playing that seems a bit more solid defensively, but still being quite progressive going forward. So if we can take that into the next game, then, you know, we could get that momentum going that we talk about. Wolves are not having a great season, are they? They're not doing too badly. They're not doing too well, and they seem to be quite inconsistent. So, you know, what it won't be is one of those games where we know we're going to lose. You know, it's one of those games where we've given ourselves a platform now to you know, give ourselves a chance in games like this. So, you know, it's unpredictable, but, you know, that's
why we play the games.
Exactly. There's no reason why we can't. There's no reason why we can't get something out of it, is there?
Not at all. No, Greavesy, one for you, because I know you've got your charts on your walls and things like that, right? I'm looking at that bench yesterday, and as you said, no Cullen there, but Masengo was there. Now he had a good game in midweek for the under-23s, I believe. He got a goal or two, didn't he?
2 goals, yeah.
Yeah, he comes in. Obafemi's in there. It's starting to look, and you look at who's not there. No Cork, no Cullen. there's a couple of other players who not stringing straight into mind who were left out. Redmond comes off the bench. So what the Americans call the depth chart of the team, it's quite interesting to see Masengo in there rather than Cullen, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was kind of surprised. And, there is, I've remembered a couple more, but, Roberts, Alderkeel, Zarori, who's featured on the bench in recent weeks.
Yeah.
That depth is absolutely incredible. And it brings us on to quite a good question that we've had on Twitter, actually. Revo, who is Claret Adora on Twitter, X, whatever Elon wants us to call it, says, a genuine question. When you look at the individual quality, have we ever had a more talented squad? And I think actually, I'm not sure if talent-wise we're kind of there. It's developable, if that's even a word, But I think we are developing it. I think the project is now starting to click, and we're developing. But yeah, I mean the depth. I mean, there'd be no two goalkeepers on the bench. Muric not even on the bench. We believe he's still ill. You know what I mean? Delcroix not even on the bench, and some of these players you're looking and kind of going, well, Vigouroux's on the bench rather than Muric. So, you're always going to have a keeper who misses out. But Connor Roberts, massive player for us last season. Zarori, massive player for us last season. Cullen, player of the season last season, not getting a sniff. Jack Cork, massive player for us over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Not even in the matchday squad. And it is, you look at that bench and you kind of go, we've got a bit of an issue if we lose 2 centre-halves because we've just got the 1 centre-half on there and not another defender who can move around and things like that. So there's still that kind of, I want to be on the front foot. I want an Odegaard. I want a Trezor. I want a Goodmanson. I want a Redmond. I want my wingers. I want a striker. But it must be difficult, Thursday when he starts telling the lads who's going to be in the squad for Saturday, and you've got all of that talent sat in the Bob Lord stand or sat in the players box in the North stand. You know what I mean? It's a headache for him to have. But the depth chart, as you say in America, I can't remember us having a squad as deep as this. Whether it's as talented a squad as we've ever had, I'm not sure. But certainly in terms of depth. Yeah, I mean, we joke that we never knew who was going to be in the starting lineup. Now you couldn't guess the bench from one game to the next, could you?
No, but I mean, it's a quick turnaround, which we're not used to anymore in the Premier League, are we? I mean, obviously in the Championship we were doing this all the time, but I do wonder whether obviously Ekdal's going to come in for Bayer, you would think, wouldn't you? So. Are there likely to be any other changes? Do you think he rotated? Do you think he goes a little bit more cautious in his midfield choices? I mean, it was back to 2 out-and-out wingers, really. It feels more. I know Brun Larsen and Goodmanson are similar players, but it felt more attacking to play Brun Larsen than Goodmanson in some respects, didn't it? It just felt that way. Woody, what did you expect to see, or would you be tempted to make any freshening up changes for Wolves, or you stick with what's just 1-5-0?
I think you keep it relatively similar. Like you say, Ekdal's probably coming in. I can see Goodmanson coming in on the right just to shore it up because he's a little bit more defensively minded, isn't he? And he'll fill in the middle. But other than that, barring any niggles that I haven't heard of, I'd keep it pretty similar. Unless somebody's, gassed a little bit or whatever, then I think it's going to be pretty much the same other than the 2 changes possibly mentioned there.
It is a nice feeling though, isn't it? Being able to do a podcast and not saying, well, let's try and find some positives here.
Have we not got a fucking fullback? Jesus. But you talk about the midfield though, effectively a 2-man midfield, but the amount of times Jay Rodriguez and Amdouni alternated. They can both sort of drop off and thicken it up in there. There were both very intelligent, both very technical footballers, and I thought the movement of the pair was fabulous yesterday. Sheffield United centre halves didn't know whether to stick a twist with them, and Amdouni, I kept saying throughout the game, I said he deserves a goal, this lad, and then he popped up with one late on, and like I say, he was fabulous. But I say other than other than Bayer's suspension, there's no need to shake it up, is there really?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's go again, isn't it, boys? It's go out there. I mean, I've got some sympathy with what Woody suggested there. That as good as Brun Larsen was, it does feel a little bit more solid for away from home with Goodmanson in there. And I wonder if looking at these two games, he thought I'll play Brun Larsen at home against Sheffield United, knowing that he's going to play Goodmanson on Tuesday night. Perhaps, I don't know. We will see. And we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it rather than dreading it as well, which is always good. Tremendous stuff. We'll be back during the week with another episode. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's been fun. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Beehole Podcast. Give us a 5-star rating on your podcast place of choice. And we'll speak to you soon. All the best and up the Clarets.